Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another fabulous Sheffield DM Lunch and Learn session. I hope you've all got your sandwiches ready because today is sure to be another corker. If you don't know me yet, my name's Giorgio. I'm your host for Sheffield DM, and we've been absolutely loving these events so far. We've done 3 so far this year. We've had James Marriott talking about podcasting, fabulous episode. And then a couple of weeks ago, we had Colette Evans come on and talk everything photography for digital marketing campaigns. If you haven't watched those yet, they are available on YouTube. So flick back through our recordings after this event and go check them out. Anyway, this week we are joined by Billie Hyde. Billie is an account executive at the SEO Works, who are a Sheffield-based agency and coincidentally based just around the corner from us at Evoluted, agency neighbours, if you will. Today, Billie is going to be discussing how marketers and particularly SEO professionals can cultivate some great relationships with their developers, get work done better, faster, and stronger. Couldn't help but slip that pun in after the sad news of Daft Punk breaking up last week. Sad face. Anyway, welcome, Billie. Gonna bring you into the stream now. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Fabulous. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really looking forward to your talk. I'm going to shut up and not talk too much more and let you introduce yourself and get straight into your slides. But for everybody watching, if you've got any questions for Billie during the event, you can chuck them into the live chat. If you scroll down a little bit on YouTube, you'll find that. And also this recording will, as usual, be available after the event for you to check out and peruse at your own will. So, Billie, over to you, and I will see you on the other side.
Cool. Hi. So today I'm going to just be talking to you about how to cultivate a great relationship with your development team or developers. So just so you know a little bit more about me, I'm Billie. I'm an account manager at the SEO Works. I've been doing SEO for a couple of years now, and before that I did content. I've worked both in-house and agency, so I've got to work with developers at very different capacities. So I've managed to develop this presentation to work both for people that are agency based or in-house. If you do want to follow me or say hi or send an email, you can find me on any social media under Billie Gina. I have a blog, or just drop me an email if you want to talk about anything. Just drop me a line. So in this talk, we're going to be looking at why developers might dismiss your technical suggestions, why your ideas might have been turned down in the past, and how to present your suggestions to them in an effective way. So first, we're going to look at why a developer has turned down your suggestions in the past. The first reason is because you may have oversimplified it. So these days there are lots of fantastic tools out there that can basically crawl a site and list the issues for you. So like Sitebulb, and then it'll make recommendations. I asked a few developers I know, and they said that the tips from Sitebulb in particular, they found to be patronizing was one of the terms they used. Long-winded, and they also said vague. So the feedback to me really seemed like they were saying there was a lot of words that weren't really saying anything at all, and that it was pretty basic explanations. So if you do use tools like this, I just advise to not copy what it says word for word. Do a little research on top of that yourself. Another reason why a developer may not go for one of your ideas is that you've not provided enough examples. So it's really all about the evidence for them. But again, don't spend hours and hours trying to find as many examples of one issue. Sometimes a developer can just run a quick script and find all of the issues. I just advise to send across some examples, but not hundreds. I normally try and send like 20 to 50 examples, and that might just take me half an hour to put together rather than spending forever crawling a site. And the third reason is how you communicated to them wasn't right. So take time to research every issue before taking it to a developer. It's really important that you consider what platform the site is built on, because not all of them have the same capabilities. So what you might find on a WordPress site may not translate properly to a custom built platform, so something like C#. So research how it's built. Make sure you let them know the implications if they don't take your suggestions seriously, and also let them know how vital it is. Like, is it going to instantly damage the rankings, or is it really holding you back, or is it just something that is kind of nice to have? Like, really consider these before taking them to a developer. I like to use a plugin from whatruns.com. This just tells me exactly what a site's built on. So even if it's something where we're in a bit of a pitching stage, I can just get a real clear idea of how the site is built and what its capabilities are. There's a few other plugins like this, but this one has been my favorite. So I really recommend adding that. So you also really need to think about what you're going to say. Don't just send a message to a developer saying the page speed is slow and we need it to increase. They're just going to, like, okay, and what? Like, why is the page speed too slow? They're not really going to take it on board. But go to them and say, and be really specific with what the issue is. So I'd like to look at improving the site's page speed. I noticed on Google Developers Tool, the site server's response time is 5 seconds over a fast connection. So that way you've told them what the issue is. You've told them where you've found the issue and where the area to improve is. So they've got a much bigger idea of what you're talking to them about. Like, that's really going to be the main point in this entire presentation, is just be really specific, and you're going to be so bored with me when I've finished, because that really is the key, is just be specific. So the next thing I really want to talk about is how I like to present my ideas to a developer. So the first thing I always like to do is to take time to think about the developer I'm pitching to. It's really important to remember that they don't work the same way as you. They could work on a ticketing system or in Scrum and have to do everything in sprints. So you've got to think that they probably have a lot of tickets open, and they will do the ones that are high priority first. What is high priority to a developer might not be the same priority as you, and that's okay, because it's two different jobs with two different goals. So just think about how what you're pitching will benefit that developer as well. I also like to take time to think about why they could say no. So when I'm taking anything to a developer, I look at what the cost, time, and energy requirements are for that task. Is it something where they could code a quick script and just change everything really quickly? I've seen it done for like meta titles, so they can run a quick search in like Python, find all the ones that are too short, and just add a little bit of text to the end. That's not really going to be much time consuming. But other tasks like looking at site speed, minifying HTML or CSS, those could take a long time. And what is the return of investment going to be on that? Is that going to vastly improve the site? Is it going to make the site speed massive, or is it going to just improve it by maybe 2 or 3 milliseconds? Like, something that could take hours might not pay off on that for them. Another thing why they could say no is you haven't done enough research. Literally, being as informed as you can about any issue you take to a developer will help them understand the issue that much more. So again, make sure you research and look at that setup, and again, be really specific. But also, like, don't be dramatic when you're talking about the implications. Like, I I'm very dramatic sometimes. But it's like a developer's not going to take that on board that they'll know if what you're saying isn't going to have, sorry, I can't get my words. They'll know if the issue, what you're explaining to them, is actually as vital as what you're saying majority of the time. So there's just no point in being dramatic about it. So now we've kind of thought about the developer and we're ready to pitch to them. So we now need to think about what we're going to include. So I have a bit of a checklist. So I always like to start off by highlighting how urgent the issue is. I do this in a traffic light colours. Some people aren't as visual as me. I just like a colourful spreadsheet sometimes. I then like to break it down into which area does the issue fall under. So that, like, mobile usability, page speed, it doesn't need to be more advanced than that. I then like to take a sentence or two to explain what the issue is. And then I like to give them the implications, how it can be resolved. Also, I like to link to external documents, so there's a bit of an educational factor to it. So if they don't want to just take my word for it, the resources are there for them to read upon it themselves. And then I link to all the examples I get. Another thing I like to do is I like to pee all over the place. So I don't know if you remember this. It was a very big thing at my school. Every English and history lesson where we had to do some writing, teachers talks about peeing all over the place. So I brought this into SEO with me. So it's point, evidence, explain, and then there's my bonus bit, explain again. Like, really delve into what the issue is. I found, since thinking about this acronym in particular when writing anything to a developer, my pitches and suggestions are much more cohesive, and also there's been less chances of them being turned down. So it's really worked for me. So here's an example of how I send issues to a developer by spreadsheets. So you can see I've got my area of improvements here in the traffic lights. I haven't got anything that's really green for this one. It's not a bad website, but it's been a task, which I'm sure you all can relate to. So I've then got listed what the issue is. Also, sorry, I've got the area of the issue just in the traffic light system just to make it a bit tidier. I've got the issues, I've then got the implications, I've got my resolutions, and then I've got the links to my affected URLs. If I were going to send them any documentation over for this, I'll just link it in the suggested resolutions bit at the end. And then I have this section at the end, which I really just use for me. So I can just quickly see if it's something that's been started, if it's completed, or if the clients like put any notes or there's any pushback, I keep everything on here. So if there is, I think more particular in an agency, if you are working on something as a group project, everyone in the group can quickly see where things are at. And I just think this layout has really worked for me. Another example I'm going to show you is an example from an email I recently had sent to a client who had a very fun task for me. You'll see in a second. So here's the email I sent. I am a bit dramatic in this one, but they knew it was a good time to be dramatic. So it was Friday afternoon, and I'd just found that they'd decided to add canonicals to every single page on the website pointing to the home page. So I sent this email straight away to all the high ups at this company, so they could get onto it straight away. So I've said that the issue is major, which it is. I then told them what the issue was and what had caused it. So it was something they'd done during a new site layout. They've added 4,900 canonicals. all pointing to the home page. I then explained what the issue is. I then went over the implications again with them, and then sent my examples. I also put a deadline on this because it's something that needed to be addressed quickly. And by the end of that Friday afternoon, all the canonicals are gone. It was picked up really well. But again, I just can't stress enough, make your point, give your evidence, explain it and explain it. And I think that has just worked wonders for me. But sometimes a developer will just still turn down your suggestion, and the best thing you can do when this happens is ask why. Asking why gives you the ability to build on that relationship better with the developer, so you can understand how they prefer to be communicated with. So the way I like to communicate in the spreadsheet might not be the optimum way for that developer. Also, I found asking why, I've had a few occasions where they've been like, oh, it doesn't fit with how we're currently working or what we're working on, or they're like, we've passed it on to our Scrum Master, it's something we're going to look at in a few months' time. And I've sometimes said, oh, I'd love to be involved in that process, even as a third-party agency, and like not go into every single daily Scrum they have, but I've turned up to like a Scrum every 2 weeks, and I've just been able to see the pipeline and also be aware of the changes they're making, so I can speak to my main contacts and be like, I'm wanting to be involved in this because I think it's going to impact SEO in this way, and I just think it'd be beneficial for us all. But also asking why provides you with an option to kind of push back. So if you don't agree with the reason they've turned it down, you can then say, okay, but can you factor this in, or I can provide more examples. It's just, don't be afraid to question those big decisions, even if it is like an in-house agency, and sometimes it can be a little bit like, why are you interested? But asking, there's just never any harm in asking. So the key takeaways from this really are to just keep on giving examples. Don't forget to tell them how the issue is going to affect the site. Be clear and be informed, and that's going to get you miles ahead. And like, keep on repeating yourself. I read a study, I can't remember where, I'll tweet it, I'll find it and tweet it in a bit. But it basically said it takes like 5 times for somebody to hear something before they actually go like, oh yeah, and take it on board. And ever since, I've been repeating myself constantly, and people are sick of me, and I'm sick of my own voice as well. But I have noticed the things I say do tend to get done. And my biggest takeaway is to just question why if something does get turned down. So that's kind of it for me. Again, if you have any questions about this or want to talk about something you're wanting to talk to a developer about, just get in touch. This is how you can find me.
Amazing. Thank you, Billie. I know I'm sure everybody else is giving you a big round of applause behind their screens. Really enjoyed the talk and some really pertinent points. Having worked with developers for a lot of my marketing career, I've been through all of these pain points. And yeah, as much as I do love working with them, you do have to be ultra specific and make sure that you just explain things and explain. And hey, explain again. Just make sure that you've got everything through really clearly and the reasons why you're asking for things to be done. I was going to share, I didn't share this beforehand because I didn't want to make you nervous, but actually to everybody that's watching, that was Billie's first time delivering a public talk. Is that right?
Yeah, I've done pre-recorded before, but never had an actual audience. So.
Amazing stuff. You did absolutely brilliantly. And I know you've delivered this internally at the SEO Works and they loved it. And I really enjoyed it today as well. Haven't had any questions in the chat, so assume that you've done a fabulous job of explaining everything there. But I did want to dig into a little bit with you myself and actually talk about beyond understanding how to communicate and build relationships with your developers. Do you have any thoughts on other things that marketers or SEOs should learn to help them work more closely with developers?
That's a really good question. I think just understanding the workflow, like the way developers work is just very different to how marketers and SEOs work. So whenever I'm working on, say, a digital PR campaign, it's very go, go, go. As soon as we had a good idea, we're wanting to get that out, we're wanting to share that, we're like very eager. But that isn't the way developers work. They have very formulated plans, and like, although they'll have tickets that pop up whenever something breaks or there's a major issue. The way you work doesn't actually fit into their process. So I think, to be honest, if you do have the opportunity to be involved with a developer's like Scrum process and meetings, like even if it's very loosely, that'll just give you so much understanding to their process. And I've found just trying to forward think, especially if you do need like a big landing page or anything creating, think about that in advance. So if you've had that idea for a campaign that sounds fun, but maybe it'll probably work better, the process, planning it for like a month, 2 months, 3 months in advance, rather than we want this now.
Yeah, if there's anything that I've found developers hate is being told to drop tools and start working on something new by an SEO coming in, being all dramatic and saying, "Oh my God, the world, it's burning, quick, fix this."
Yeah, and basically once you've done that, the developer will just always expect you to do that as well. They'll have very like, "Oh, they've messaged me again," responses to you. So I think just understand, taking that time to understand just helps, like, unbelievably.
That's a really nice segue actually into Sarah's question that's just come through in chat. Thank you, Sarah. Billie, do you think that tone of voice can sometimes have an impact on whether or not a developer will action your tasks?
Definitely. Like, it's like with anything, if you're asking for someone for something, if you just go, "Give me that," they're gonna go, "No, what?" Like, so that's why I like the spreadsheet format to send things across to developers, to be honest, because it's like there's no ego or rudeness for that. It's just very straight to the point. Let's look at exactly what this issue is. This is how it affects it. Can we do this kind of thing? Rather than sometimes when I've sent an email, they'll interpret how I messaged them as almost being like, "Oh, you've done this wrong," and I'm patronizing you about why you're doing this wrong. I think that really helps. Although the way I've typed it, I was not typing like that is on purpose, but that's how it's read. So just be polite and straight to the point. It's like with anything.
Yeah, I think if we've learned anything over the past year of moving to work from home, written communication is very easy to get wrong. And I think we could all do with improving. Something that I always love to do with more complex development requests is to jump on a video call as well at the moment, just to explain those things in more detail. Going back to your explanation point again, having that chat helps, like, for me specifically, gets past that tone of voice issue when I'm writing something, because I can be quite brief and quite to the point with text. So having that video chat lets you just get those nuances out, get the understanding in, and then you can reuse ticketing system or an email or chat or whatever to put the specifics down in writing.
Definitely. I can't agree more with that. I've recently just had a situation where it was like the way me and a developer was emailing, we weren't talking to people in the way that would communicate well. So I just emailed them. I said, "Look, can we have a video call?" And then it was just like, instead of them thinking I was attacking their ideas, like being like, "Why are you doing this?" Just trying to understand some decisions that were made. They were seeing it as me going like, why are we doing this? And then as soon as we had a call, it was fine. Everyone was chill again. So
Awesome. A great point from Carl has just come through the chat as well. Repetition is good, but remember you're probably at the end of a very long list of stakeholders with demands, and establishing relationships with alternate stakeholders is useful to balance priorities. Yeah, totally. Have you ever been in a situation where you've kind of got this balance of demands of you needing something doing as an SEO, and potentially someone else needs something doing that they deem just as urgent, and how can we balance that with a developer and understand which should be approached first?
I guess that it's really delicate, that, because every company and every style of business you're with, it's going to be a different process. So especially as now I'm working in an agency, that'd be much more harder to manage them in-house, because you could easily have that communication with the stakeholder. I think the reasoning is just like, I know internal stakeholders are probably not going to be as on board of doing this, but if just everyone within a company, when sending their requests through, didn't just make a request, if they explained what they needed and why they needed it, that'd help a developer so much. But that's it feels like an impossible task. That's much easier said than done, because I know so many stakeholders that I've worked with in the past that would be like, no, I just want this doing, let's just do it. And
as the requests get more complex, that only gets worse, right?
Definitely. Yeah, but maybe just be an advocate for that kind of change, and that behavior, if we can start it as SEOs, could maybe transfer to other industries or management styles.
Yeah, I love it. Lead by example and make sure we're the ones setting the standard for people. Excellent. Well, there's no more questions that have come through, so we'll kind of start to wrap things up. Again, thank you ever so much, Billie. It was a fabulous talk, and I'm going to make sure to leave your slides up there so people can go and follow you on Twitter if they want, and check out your blog. I highly recommend it. Billie writes some great articles on there, and I'm looking forward to seeing this hosted up there too soon. Again, thank you to all of you in the audience who have joined us today. We really appreciate you coming and supporting Sheffield DM as we continue to try a few new things and keep the events rolling. Fingers crossed, we're going to be ready for a big birthday bash in November this year. Really looking forward to it. We're going to start the plans soon. Hopefully nothing's going to get in the way this time. After this event, we are going to take a short break, so we won't be back until the 1st of April when we've got our next event. Don't worry, it's in the afternoon, so I'm not pulling a prank on you. That's how the rules work, right, for April Fools. And then we've got another event 2 weeks later on the 15th of April. And again, both of those are going to be starting at 12:30, finishing around 1 p.m. Nice and easy to squeeze into your lunch break. As usual, if you've enjoyed Sheffield DM, I'd love it if you could scroll down a little bit and whack that thumbs up button just to say that you've enjoyed watching the stream today. It's going to be available online for you to watch afterwards as well, to come back to review the excellent tips that Billie's given, and to share with your colleagues who need a bit of a help on how to work with their developers too. You can follow us on Twitter at Sheffield DM, or you can head over to sheffielddm.co.uk and join the mailing list so that when those next events roll around, you will get an email notifying you, and you can stay up to date with everything else that's coming. A virtual conference again on the horizon, and like I mentioned before, our special 3rd birthday party coming up later this year. Last of all, and then I'm going to go and get some lunch because I'm flipping starving. We are always looking for exciting new speakers to come and join at Sheffield DM. So if you would like to have a go at taking the virtual stage, or if you know someone who would do a fabulous job of delivering a talk here at Sheffield DM, whether that's a lightning talk, a nice kind of 20-minute session like Billie's just done, or even a QA panel, we're up for anything. So put them in touch with me on Twitter, or they can email hello@sheffielddm.co.uk. Beyond that, Billie, thanks again. We're going to call it there, and thank you everybody who's watched. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.